What do you mean, like a body bag?
Like the wood, it's,
Is that real?
Pretend it's wood, isn't it?
And it's a toilet seat? No. It's a toilet seat? No, I thought you just... Oh. It's too early for that, isn't it? There's another one there, mate.
I like to see where people come from. Dover.
Julia, Cornwall, Herne Bay. I think that's the modern bit because it changed, didn't it? It used to come. They just changed the line a bit, haven't they?
So he said within 100 days. We actually had to
That's Dad's Army, isn't it? These must be original. I wonder if they've got the end of the feet the wrong way round. And that wheelchair, look. We could have brought Dad down here. Well, yeah. Or if you needed to be evacuated. I don't think Dad could have done it down the last few months down here.
Come towards me a bit. Right, Ramsgate tunnels, cool.
Dad would like this one. Yeah, I know, but by then he had one good year and we should have done it in that good year, shouldn't we? I only came last year, end of 15 with Richard. Anyway. Do it for Dad. But you know it's any time. All the way down. I think they're toilets. These are beds, weren't they?
If you have trouble hearing, just let me know. Now then, the whole of this side of the tunnel was lined with bunks and benches. These are reproductions, obviously. And in many cases, the bunks were several bunks all touching each other. One of the pictures we have shows a whole row of bunks with a curtain over the one in the middle to give some privacy. The bunks were originally for people who were in reserved occupations. People like the firemen who weren't sent off to the front because the work they did here was far too important. They also often worked shifts and they needed to have as much uninterrupted sleep as they could get. So they could get permission, they could get a pass to come down here even if there wasn't a raid going on to sleep. They would have had to have brought their bedding with them and taken it back because it gets incredibly damp here. After the big raid that you saw on the film, they must have put in more bunks because lots of children slept down here every night with their parents. You can imagine that even if your house was perfectly safe, you didn't want to wake up at 2 o'clock with it collapsing around your ears. And so lots of people were just too scared to put the children to bed in the houses, so got permission to come down here. We've met ladies who said Mum would get us ready, she'd wash us, put us in our nightclothes, teddy, pillow, wait while the next one was done. And then we marched across the park and into the tunnel every night for 4 years. They were just too scared. And it brings extra meaning to Vera Lynn's song, Johnny will sleep in his own little bed again. He might not have been evacuated. He might have just had to come down to the tunnels every night. Now, if you're down here all night, especially children, you're going to need some loos. Hence the alcoves. Through the length of the tunnels, there were 250 of these alcoves, each one divided into 2 cubicles by an asbestos screen with a Hessian curtain across the front and a chemical toilet in each side. They were emptied on a regular basis, especially if the tunnels were in use a lot, but nevertheless they must have smelt towards the end of the period in which they had to be emptied. And there's the smells that people remember from the tunnels. You've probably already smelt the mustiness as you came in. There was the smell of the mustiness, there was the smell of the chemical toilets, and the smell of the people's bodies, because deodorants weren't perfumed in the way that we have today. Today you would smell clashing perfumes. In the war years you would have smelled the natural smell of the body much more. Now we're going to carry on a bit further. We are under... We started
But there's a lamp there, isn't it? It's burned.
Yes.
Sorry, John?
Big enough for brother. They're mostly original, aren't they? They're very different between you and the other one. Right? They wouldn't let Dave do it, would they? They wouldn't say, what's the point?
But after 70 odd years down here in the dam, anything wooden has rotted away totally. And in fact there would have been two there. The curtain was nailed down here, you can see where it was nailed, and originally was nailed down there, but then that lump seems to have fallen out, so it was moved in. So you obviously went in through the middle and then went to either side, and presumably you sang while you did
Oh, they're nailed. It's all just, the damp makes it go from the bottom, yeah. I bet it only took a few years, didn't it, when it shut up? I bet people went down in the 60s when this tunnel was that big, and now they just jumped it. I think a lot of people have been down here. I'd love to come down here and have no lights, wouldn't you? Well, just with a torch. But you know the way out.
Because we're under the tunnels and there's a hill on the back as well.
Ride a bike down here, can you? Yeah. As long as you've got light.
Also tells you about how the bricks have got taller.
A bit like a small canal tunnel, really, isn't it? A small canal tunnel. It's a bit wider, yeah, but it'd be like a bit like this, yeah. Yeah.
Now, I told you that there were bunks and benches all the way along, so you are representing the bunks and the benches at the moment, and you can see there isn't actually very much space for moving around. This will explain one of the rules of the tunnels, which was no prams or pushchair. If you put a pram there, especially one of the old-fashioned 1940s sort, nobody could have got past. But the children who should have been evacuated to Stafford, but in most cases either never went or came back, were often down here, and you know what kids are like. They hurtle around, don't they? Fairly restricted space. They'll fall over, they'll bash themselves, they'll hurt their knees, they'll scream the place down for 5 minutes. So every 500 yards or so, there were comfort stations where they could go to be mopped up and have a sticking plaster. But if we could carry on, which we can't these days, carry on round the tunnels far enough, we'd get to an entrance that had no steps at all. It was ramped all the way, and it led up to the hospital. So if anything more serious happened, or if the baby was imminent, Mum could walk around and go into the hospital. I believe even that if people were injured on the eastern side of the town, they would actually be brought through the tunnels as being the safer option. It's much too dangerous to walk through, even if there's not a raid going on, because the buildings could collapse without warning onto you. So this became very much the public way around the town. You'd come down, go round the tunnel to get to work or to get to your shopping. The children had an hour's schooling a day. So this was very much the public highway through the town. Now we're very much at the deepest section. If you know the town at all, we're coming up to Holy Trinity Church, and we're going to turn towards Arklow Square, where one of the entrances was.
Holy Trinity, Arklow Square? Don't know, I can't place. Well, I expect you know it. Just don't know the name. Holy Trinity Church. I know why, because you can't go. The hospital's usually gone. Yeah, that's that picture of the hospital. Yeah, it's car park. So, that's mostly original. Oh look, we go down there afterwards. We do, yeah. No, that's where we've got torches. Look, stairs, look. It's cool, isn't it?
I'm going to disappoint a lot of you now. We're not going up these steps. There's 127 of them.
That's all right.
They go up as far as you can see, they turn through a right angle, they carry on up, they turn through a second right angle, and they go on up to the surface. So it's like a square U. The reason for those right angles is incredibly important. When a bomb falls, a lot of the danger is from the blast that goes sideways. If the blast would come down here, where it's contained, it could cause immense damage, huge damage. I believe it happened once during a raid up near the underground. A gentleman who was with me on the first tour said it was Bethnal Green Station, where hundreds were killed because the bomb exploded near the entrance and the blast came straight down. Brimmel was very clever. He put in these right angles so that if a bomb dropped near the entrance, the blast would be reflected back out, and of course it disperses much more easily than in the tunnel. The second right angle was his backup. You will discover on your tour that Brimmel always had a backup. He always had a plan B. So the second right angle is plan B. If, in the unlikely event a bomb had rolled down the stairs, the same thing could happen. The right angle would stop it, the second right angle was the backup. That never happened. If they had lost one entrance, even that wouldn't have been too disastrous because there were another 11. It just meant the people down here had to walk a bit further to the nearest entrance. When the tunnels were first used, you can imagine what a nerve-wracking experience it was. Imagine it's a December night, it's cold, it's wet. You've been woken up at 11 o'clock or something by the sound of the sirens wailing, and you have to come. There's no lighting at the top of the staircase, blackout regulations. So you're groping your way down into the tunnel, hanging onto the handrail with the children and whatever hanging onto you. It must have been terrifying. Will I ever get out alive? Will I be buried here forever? Well, what will happen to my house? Very sadly, the people of Ramsgate got very used to this and would run down here with gay abandon because they were so used to it. Now, by August 1940, Hitler had changed tactics slightly. He wanted to invade, and in order to invade, he had to eliminate the Air Force. So we had the Battle of Britain. August that year had been typical English summer weather, and certainly the few days before the 24th, it was wet, it was cloudy, there was such a low cloud base that neither side could do any flying. But that particular Saturday was beautiful, and the people of Ramsgate knew that there would be trouble. Sure enough, just before 10 o'clock, the air raid sirens wailed. Everybody who wanted to and who could made their way down into the tunnels. Once you're down here, you can actually hear a surprising amount of, if they start road working up above, we know. If somebody fiddles with the hatch, we can hear it. So people could hear all the bumps and the bangs going on, but obviously couldn't see what was going on. What was happening? Well, a squadron of Junkers aircraft had left from their base near Paris about 9 o'clock in the morning. As they came over Ramsgate, Purely by chance, there were some Spitfires at Manston refuelling. They scrambled and chased the Germans away, who dispersed over the North Sea and the English Channel, eventually regrouped, came in for another try. They were seen off by a different squadron the second time. And then, just before 12 o'clock, the sirens sounded again. Anybody who'd been out made their way back, and the Germans came in for their last attempt. Now, if you can, put yourself in the place of those German pilots. They were mostly very young, 18, 19, 20 years old. They had left their base near Paris, as I said, at 9 o'clock, and they knew they were running short of fuel, and they needed to get back to Paris. And they also knew they were carrying a full load of armed bombs. And the last thing you want to do is to try and land with armed bombs on board. As they came in towards the town, there was an armed fishing boat, part of the Dover Patrol, and he was either very good or very lucky because the gunner managed to take out the squadron leader and one other of the German planes. Those pilots panicked. They swept in over the town and in less than 5 minutes dropped over 500 big bombs. They chose their own targets. A favourite was the gasworks or the railway viaduct. It was the first ever blitz, a lightning raid on an unarmed, unimportant town. It could have caused utter devastation, but in actual fact the death toll was 29 civilians and 2 off-duty soldiers. It hit the national press, and the following week everybody came down to see what was happening. The mayor was showing people round. He had had to dig himself out from his office up in Albion House. And the lady from the Daily Express was talking to people and saying, well, what do you think of your mad mayor now? Mad mayor? He's not the mad mayor. He's the mayor with his head screwed on the right way. He's saved all our lives. And that's probably true. In the whole of World War II, only 84 people were killed in air raids in Ramsgate because of access to the tunnels. That's an incredibly low number. What he could not save, of course, was their property. And in that one raid, 80 houses were totally demolished, and another 1,000 were uninhabitable either for months or in some cases for years. So at the end of that Saturday evening, we'd have several thousand people with nowhere to spend the night. We'll come back to them later. Now, we're getting to the adventurous part. Have a look at the water, see what you feel. Phil and I will use our torches to help you.